In restaurant Yukihira, Sōma challenges his father Jōichirō to a cooking duel with family friend Mayumi Kurase judging. Despite his efforts, Sōma loses for the 489th time. To cheer himself up, he feeds Mayumi his failed morning experiment, grilled squid tentacles in peanut butter. Ignoring her reaction, he vows to explore the vast, unknown world of cooking. That night, Sōma shares his dream to surpass his father and take over the restaurant. Suddenly, urban life planner Yaeko Minegasaki enters with her assistants, threatening to close the restaurant for city development. She challenges Sōma, cook a dish to her satisfaction or the shop closes. He accepts. The next day, Sōma returns from school to find his kitchen supplies sabotaged, presumably by Yaeko. She appears demanding a meat dish. Despite the lack of ingredients, Sōma agrees. He presents roast pork, just kidding, made from thick bacon slices and potatoes meant for breakfast. Yaeko's assistants question the dish, but she tries it and loves it. However, she refuses to admit it's a meat dish. Sōma tells her to leave and never return, but Yaeko stays to finish the dish. Later, Jōichirō returns, revealing he must temporarily close the shop to work in New York. He advises Sōma to enroll in Totsuki Culinary Academy, an elite school with a less than 10% graduation rate. Meanwhile, at Totsuki, top student Erina Nakari criticizes a student's dish, showcasing the academy's high standards. At Totsuki Culinary Academy, Erina Nakari tastes students' dishes, expressing disappointment and comparing one to bathing with a gorilla. She chastises the cook, causing all students to beg for forgiveness. Meanwhile, Sōma reaches the school entrance, where Jōichirō tells him via phone that he's now cooking in Manhattan and that Sōma won't surpass him unless he graduates from Totsuki. Entering Totsuki grounds, Sōma meets rich students preparing for the entrance exams, including Yoshiaki Nikaido. After revealing his humble background, Sōma is kicked off the bench by Yoshiaki, who claims Totsuki only accepts the elite. Sōma retaliates, causing a commotion. Students gather for the exam, with Erina revealed as the examiner. Fearing her strict standards and influence, all students except Sōma flee. Yoshiaki explains Erina's god tongue and her power to end careers before running off. Sōma, unfazed, asks to take the test, irritating Erina and her secretary Hisako Arato. Sōma serves his dish, transforming furikake gohan. Erina initially dismisses it, but notices jellied broth cubes hidden beneath the eggs. Sōma combines the ingredients with rice, creating a fragrant dish. Erina, drawn to its aroma, tries it and enters a state of ecstasy. Despite her enjoyment, she claims the dish is disgusting due to pride and storms off. Erina contacts the authorities, stating no one passed. Sōma sits outside in dismay. Senzaemon Nakiri, the academy's director, tastes Sōma's dish, causing him to strip part of his robe off. Impressed, he crushes Sōma's failed report and registers him into Totsuki Culinary Academy. Megumi Tadakoro recalls leaving her hometown at 12 to attend Totsuki Culinary Academy, receiving an academic charm from her mother. At the opening ceremony, Senzaemon Nakari congratulates students but warns that 99% are sacrificial to polish the remaining 1% gems. He emphasizes the school's harsh standards and urges students to devote themselves to their studies. Sōma unexpectedly passes the exam and introduces himself, vowing not to lose to those who haven't faced real clients. Backstage, Erina dismisses his success as a mistake, warning him that the top is unreachable. Sōma counters, revealing he has 12 years of cooking experience and vows to impress her. Senzaemon overhears and smiles. Megumi fears being the first to drop out and decides to avoid Sōma. Ironically, they're paired for the first assignment under the strict teacher Roland Chappelle. He tasks them with cooking bœuf bourguignon and threatens low scores for failing to stand out. Two students sabotage Sōma and Megumi's beef. Sōma realizes the issue and with 30 minutes left, vows to complete the dish. He uses honey as a secret ingredient, saving the dish. Roland is impressed, passing them with an A despite knowing about the sabotage. Megumi thanks Sōma and they become friends. She tries his experimental squid dishes, reacting with disgust. Meanwhile, Hisako informs Erina of Sōma's success, sending Erina into a rage at the mention of his name, terrifying Hisako and nearby students. After hours of wandering, Sōma finally locates the Polar Star Dormitory, an old and unimpressive building that fails to impress him. As he steps inside, he notices smoke filling the lounge. Initially thinking the building is on fire, he is quickly corrected by a stern voice echoing through the speakers. The voice reprimands a student for attempting to smoke food in the lounge again and scolds others for various misbehaviors and rule violations. Suddenly, a woman appears before Sōma, introducing herself as Fumio Daimido. The dorm mother and the voice behind the speakers, known as the Polar Star's Maria, she asks Sōma if he is prepared for the skill test. Caught off guard, Sōma admits he hasn't heard about any test, leaving him shocked and unprepared. Facing the prospect of sleeping outside on a freezing April night, Sōma quickly agrees to take the challenge. He rushes to the kitchen and scavenges for leftover ingredients, managing to create an improvised mackerel burger meal. Fumio, impressed by his resourcefulness and the dish's quality, hands him the key to his new room. Exhausted but relieved, Sōma heads to the dorm's only bathroom to freshen up. As he opens the door, he startles Megumi Tadakoro, who is already inside. After finally taking a bath, Sōma returns to his room and begins to reminisce about his past 15 years. Suddenly, Satoshi Ishiki drops from the ceiling, having removed a tile from the attic. Shocked, Sōma listens as Satoshi invites him to a welcome party organized just for him. Moments later, the Polar Star members gather in Zenji Marui's room for the welcome party, much to Zenji's discontent. Sōma is warmly greeted by everyone in the dorm and learns about the Elite 10 Council, the most influential student body in the academy. As the party continues, the members prepare dishes for each other, and Sōma effortlessly blends in with the group. They celebrate and enjoy each other's company until dawn. Impressed by Satoshi Ishiki's cooking, Sōma accepts his challenge to a cooking contest. He analyzes Satoshi's mackerel dish, deducing his Japanese restaurant background. Sōma decides to cook the number 20 dish from Yukihira's secret menu, also using mackerel. The aroma of Sōma's dish awakens Shun, Ryoko, and Yuki. Sōma reveals his revamped mackerel onigiri chazuke, using salted kelp tea. Despite its simple appearance, the dish impresses everyone with its juicy mackerel and French cooking technique, pole. Satoshi appreciates Sōma's creativity and declares the contest a draw. Megumi awakens to see Sōma and Satoshi shaking hands. After cleaning Zenji's room, Sōma asks Satoshi how to become an Elite 10 member. Satoshi welcomes his ambition but postpones a future duel, knowing Sōma will gradually understand the academy's ways. The next morning, Sōma challenges Satoshi for his Elite 10 seat. Satoshi sighs, realizing he hadn't explained the academy's dispute resolution system. Meanwhile, Erina Nakari faces Kiyoshi Gorabayashi in a shokugeki, with the Chan RS building at stake. Erina wins and the building is demolished. Satoshi explains the shokugeki rules. Both parties must agree on conditions, have staff authorization, and an odd number of judges. Fumio intervenes, criticizing the current students for not making it into the Elite 10. Sōma is disappointed he can't challenge Satoshi or Erina. Satoshi, watching from the balcony, expects Sōma to trigger interesting shokugekis. Shun confronts Satoshi, accusing him of not being serious during his duel with Sōma, which Satoshi denies. Satoshi's call wakes Sōma, who follows Yuki Yoshino into the Polar Star Garden for the first time. After help with harvesting, Sōma enjoys breakfast prepared by Megumi. They discuss research societies, sparking Soma's interest to investigate further. He finds a message board listing societies and expresses interest in the Don RS, eager to create a new donbori dish. Sōma and Megumi run to find the Don RS building. Upon arrival, they meet President Kanichi Konishi, who asks them to leave due to the society's impending shutdown. Sōma learns that Erina Nakari used her influence to cut down the Don RS budget, leading to a shokugeki with the society's fate on the line. Members fled, leaving Kanichi alone. Sōma inquires about the opponent. Ikumi Mito, the meat master, enters with construction workers, planning to rebuild post-shokugeki. She belittles Kanichi, who accidentally insults her by calling her Nikumi. Sōma intervenes, volunteering to compete in Kanichi's place and defending his honor. Ikumi sets the match in 3 days, with meat donbori as the theme, and warns Sōma about the consequence of losing: expulsion. Sōma explains his motivation. He dislikes the notion that only expensive meat has value and doesn't want the Don RS abolished. With 3 days to prepare, he begins strategizing. The Don RS panics as the shokugeki nears. Kanichi warns Sōma not to overlap Ikumi's meat choice and explains the power of her A5 meat. Megumi shares her preference for scallop donbori. Despite fears, Sōma insists on beef donbori to prove his point. With limited budget, they struggle to find a rival dish. Megumi suggests a break. Sōma gets an idea from her book. He creates a chaliapin steak don, impressing Megumi and Kanichi. Meanwhile, Ikumi discusses her premium ingredients with Erina, who anticipates Sōma's possible expulsion. Ikumi has prepared an A5 meat surpassing standard quality, expecting victory. The stage is set for Sōma and Ikumi's shokugeki showdown. As news of Sōma Yukihira's shokugeki with Ikumi Mito spreads across the academy, Sōma enters the arena accompanied by Kanichi and Megumi. MC Urara Kawashima begins the event, with the crowd jeering Sōma due to his ambitious opening day speech. Ikumi and Sōma exchange taunts as Erina enters, anticipating Ikumi's victory. The shokugeki commences. Ikumi unveils A5 grade beef, while Sōma reveals cheap beef, shocking the audience. Erina explains Ikumi's beef expertise to Hisako. Ikumi taunts Sōma, but he disregards her, focusing on the cooking. The aroma of Soma's fried onions surprises Ikumi. Time expires. Ikumi presents her A5 Japanese beef roti don, impressing the judges. Sōma reveals his chaliapin steak don. Initially uninterested, the judges are won over by the dish's appearance and taste. Finishing it and asking for seconds, they inquire about the secret ingredient, pickled plum. Ikumi tries Sōma's dish, recalling her past and the restrictions of her family. Overwhelmed, she tears up. Sōma wins all the judges' votes, shocking the arena. Erina leaves disappointed, rescinding Ikumi's kitchen privileges. Sōma playfully uses Ikumi's nickname, Nikomi, sparking affection from her. The next day, Ikumi joins the Don RS as per shokugeki rules. She learns Sōma won't join permanently, infuriating her. Kanichi bears the brunt of her anger, his screams heard by Megumi. Roland discusses the annual camp with fellow chefs, confirming students will be notified by day's end. Sōma learns about the camp from Ryoko, but is concerned when Megumi seems frightened. Zenji and Yuki explain the grueling nature of the camp, with students risking expulsion if they fail. Satoshi confirms the camp's intensity, recalling dozens of students being expelled daily the previous year. Megumi faints upon hearing this. Sōma reads the guidebook, noting restrictions and the harsh conditions. Despite the challenges, he remains optimistic. Satoshi assures everyone they will all return, and he will look after the dormitory with Fumio. Hisako helps Erina prepare for departure. The next day, students gather and board buses to the camp. Polar Star residents are surprised to find the campsite is a luxurious hotel, part of the Totsuki Resort brand. Roland announces the schedule: 5 nights, 6 days with daily cooking tasks. Failure means expulsion. Students will be evaluated by Totsuki Academy alumni. One alumnus, Kojiro Shinomiya, demonstrates the harsh standards by expelling a student for having citrus-scented hair. Zenji identifies other notable alumni, including Jin Dojima, who welcomes the students and sets the expectations. Students split into groups. Sōma and Megumi are assigned to Group 5 with Hinako Inui as their instructor. A student challenges Sōma, but Hinako intervenes, explaining the task: gather ingredients from the forest and river to create a satisfactory dish within 2 hours. Sōma and Megumi struggle with ingredient gathering. Meanwhile, the Aldini twins, Takumi and Isami, impress Hinako with their duck dish, passing the test. Megumi is shocked to see competitors as skilled as Sōma. Elsewhere, Erina passes her test with Donato Gotora. The Aldini twins, Takumi and Isami, are seen in a flashback working at their family's Trattoria Aldini in Florence, Italy. They are praised by customers but are suddenly sent to Totsuki Culinary Academy in Japan by their father and uncle. At the training camp, Hinako Inui passes the Aldini twins and agrees to a duel between Sōma, Yukihira, and Takumi. The loser must bow before the winner and declare themselves a loser thrice. Sōma strategizes and splits ingredient gathering with Megumi. He asks Takumi to hold kaki seeds, confusing him. As time runs out, Takumi impatiently waits for Sōma, accidentally crushing the kaki seeds. Sōma uses this to his advantage, quickly preparing his dish with Megumi. Hinako is satisfied with their dish, passing them just as time expires. Takumi asks about the duel's victor, but Hinako is interrupted by a call from Kojiro Shinomiya, leaving the match undecided. Takumi challenges Sōma to a future shokugeki and leaves. They awkwardly reunite on the bus back to Totsuki Resort. Sōma and Megumi meet their Polar Star dorm mates, but Hitoshi Sekimori gives them a new task: cook 50 steak meals for a bodybuilding club. After completing the task, Sōma heads to the public bath and bumps into Erina. He apologizes for potentially causing her to twist her ankle. Erina, who had let her guard down, denies needing help and claims she wasn't humming. She calls the training camp tedious and wonders when Sōma will drop out. Hisako Arato arrives, misunderstanding Sōma's presence, and remembers she brought playing cards. Erina, not wanting to compare herself to Sōma, denies agreeing to play cards. Sōma enters the bathroom, finding Gin Dojima already there. Gin mentions his bath routine and recalls a student from the previous year. Sōma realizes Erina completed her assignment faster than him. Gin warns Sōma about the academy's depth and wishes him luck. Takumi Aldini arrives, surprised to see Sōma with Gin. Gin leaves, finding Sōma's surname familiar. Sōma joins his dorm mates in Zenji's room for card games. Ryoko and Megumi discuss Megumi's growing confidence. The next day, Kojiro Shinomiya assigns the students to cook his 9-vegetable terrine. He warns them to consider each other enemies and sets a 3-hour time limit. Megumi struggles to gather ingredients and falls behind. She preserves a bad cauliflower's color using wine vinegar. Kojiro disqualifies students for poor dishes and expels 2 for helping each other. Sōma passes the assignment, but Megumi is expelled for altering the recipe. Sōma intervenes, arguing the assignment was unfair due to bad ingredients. Kojiro admits to mixing in bad ingredients to narrow down passing students. Sōma challenges Kojiro to a shokugeki, seeing Megumi's despair. Kojiro threatens to expel Sōma too, but Sōma persists, asking if the same rules apply to alumni. The confrontation sets the stage for a high-stakes shokugeki between Sōma and Kojiro, with Megumi's future at the academy on the line. Gin and Hinako Inui intervene, with Hinako impressed by Megumi's dish. Gin suggests an unofficial shokugeki, and Kojiro reluctantly accepts. If Sōma wins, Megumi's expulsion is rescinded. If he loses, both are expelled. Sōma encourages Megumi, reminding her she's not meant to drop out. At the campsite, the Polar Star residents worry about Sōma and Megumi's absence. In the basement kitchen, Gin introduces the judges, Fuyumi Mizuhara, Donato Gotada, and Hitoshi Sekimori, and a tied-up Hinako as a spectator. Gin announces a 2-hour time limit and makes Megumi the lead chef, with Sōma as support. Megumi struggles with pressure, but Sōma claps her hands, breaking her out of her fear. He encourages her to focus on her own cooking. Megumi remembers her mother's cooking and decides on her dish. Back at the campsite, the Polar Star residents are shocked to learn that shokugeki is happening. In the basement, Megumi and Sōma work together, with Sōma anticipating Megumi's needs. The judges observe Sōma's skill in supporting Megumi without overshadowing her. Both teams complete their dishes. Kojiro presents cho fosi, impressing the judges. The judges taste Kojiro's dish, deeming it delicious. Gin savors it, recalling Kojiro's reputation as the legumes magician in Paris. The judges express satisfaction with Kojiro's dish. Gin, however, is disappointed that Kojiro didn't serve his signature dish. Kojiro explains that it would be cruel to serve it against students. Gin then calls for Megumi to present her dish. Sōma calms Megumi down, and she reveals her tureen to the judges. The episode ends with the judges about to taste Megumi's dish, leaving the outcome uncertain. The judges are impressed by her creativity and the unique flavors she achieved with sun-dried tomatoes, which contain glutamic acid and increased sweetness. The judges argue over a fitting title for Megumi, comparing her to various yokai of legumes due to her innovative use of vegetables. Despite Megumi's hopes, all 3 judges, Donato, Hitoshi, and Fuyumi, vote for Kojiro. Sōma apologizes to Megumi, feeling he couldn't help her enough. However, Gin Dojima unexpectedly votes for Megumi, surprising everyone. Kojiro questions Gin's decision, but Gin acknowledges the merit in Megumi's dish and questions Kojiro's stagnation. A flashback shows the Totsuki alumni, including Kojiro, Donato, Hinako, and Fuyumi, 10 years ago. Kojiro shares his plans to go to France, hone his skills, and win the Plus Ball award. Despite his friends' concerns about his unfriendly nature, Kojiro is determined. After 6 years of training in France, he opens his restaurant, Shino's, in Paris and eventually wins the Plus Ball award, earning the title of the Magician of Legumes. Gin points out that Kojiro has hit a wall with his cooking and is stagnating. He challenges Kojiro to taste Megumi's dish. Initially critical, Kojiro takes another bite and remembers his mother's words about his gentle nature. He realizes that Megumi's dish, despite its flaws, speaks to the chef's care for the customer. Kojiro votes for Megumi, acknowledging her thoughtfulness. Hinako, moved to tears by Megumi's considerate cooking, also votes for her, resulting in a draw. Gin allows Megumi to stay, and Kojiro smiles at Sōma before leaving. Gin advises Megumi to hone her hospitality skills, considering her cooking as a reflection of her welcoming nature. He reminds her to view the 3 coins as an investment in her future. Sōma and Megumi return to the campsite, where Megumi thanks Sōma for his support. Sōma feels frustrated about losing and punches a wall, injuring his hand. Gin observes Sōma's determination and reflects on how it resembles Kojiro's hunger for success in his younger days. Back at the Polar Star dormitory, Yuki slaps Sōma for worrying them, but they are relieved to see Megumi and Sōma safe. Megumi explains that Sōma's support was crucial to her success. Shun notices Sōma's injured hand, but Sōma downplays it. Daigo and Shoji invite everyone to play cards in Zenji's room, much to Zenji's dismay. At the Polar Star dormitory, Satoshi Ishiki has a nightmare where his fellow residents return from the camp changed. Sōma is buff, Megumi and the others are delinquents, and Shun is scruffy. He wakes up relieved that it was just a dream. At the camp, the students are cooking and Megumi passes her assignment. Sōma watches her, determined to improve his skills. On their way back to the rooms, the Polar Star residents realize there is no time listed for lights out. Gin Dojima announces they will assemble in the banquet hall at 10 o'clock for their next task. In the banquet hall, Takumi and Ikumi approach Sōma, having heard about his shokugeki with Kojiro. Gin explains the new task, creating a new breakfast menu featuring eggs for the Totsuki resort guests. The dish must be innovative, buffet style, and ready for tasting at 6 a.m. the next day. Sōma remembers his transfer exam and his father's advice about making classic dishes with a twist. He starts experimenting with dashimaki and scrambled eggs, but finds them lacking. He decides to add an element of surprise to his dish. Meanwhile, Erina Nakari tells Hisako that she'll go to bed and asks if Hisako will continue testing recipes. Hisako admires Erina's composure under pressure. Back in the kitchen, Sōma has an idea for his dish. Takumi and Megumi are also working on their dishes. A mysterious girl appears to Sōma, commenting on his dish and mentioning that the next morning will be quite a show. She introduces herself as Rindo Kobayashi, and her companion is Eshi Tsukasa. They leave, and Rindo expresses her doubts about Sōma's abilities. The next morning, Sōma is surprised by the size of Hall A. He sees Megumi and Takumi preparing their dishes. Erina is next to Sōma, and they have a brief exchange about their dishes. Gin introduces the judges, who are professional producers and staff from Totsuki Resort. The judging criteria are announced. The dishes must present an innovation worthy of acknowledgement, and students must prepare and serve more than 200 servings in 2 hours. Takumi's enchilada frittata and Megumi's breakfast oden impress the judges. Ikumi's petite-size lokomoko don is well received, but she has an encounter with Rindo, who dismisses her. Erina's eggs benedict amazes the guests and staff. Takumi and Megumi wonder how Sōma is faring, but he has completed fewer than 10 servings. As Sōma serves his mini soufflé omelet, he realizes no one is taking them, and they quickly lose their form. He understands the difference between a buffet and his family's diner, where dishes are served fresh and hot. Erina, meanwhile, attracts many customers with her eggs benedict, completing 200 servings and mocking Sōma. Gin and Roland observe the students. Ikumi struggles to reach 200 servings, while a mysterious girl, later revealed as Alice Nakari, easily surpasses 300 servings with her 3 forms of egg dish. Takumi and Megumi complete their servings but worry about Sōma. Sōma remembers his father's advice and decides to attract customers by putting on his bandana and performing live cooking. He uses 8 stoves to cook omelets, quickly drawing customers away from Erina. Despite the heavy workload, Sōma maintains his pace, impressing Gin, Roland, and Hirohime. With only 5 minutes left, Sōma manages to complete 200 servings. Takumi and Megumi are relieved, while Erina is irritated. Alice introduces herself as Erina's cousin and criticizes Sōma's reliance on live cooking. She explains her background and her determination to defeat Erina and become the top chef. Alice challenges Sōma to a future shokugeki and leaves with her companion. Sōma notices the companion's crimson bandana. Jin announces the next task will be in 4 hours, and the students head to the kitchen. In the lobby, Megumi wonders about the next task. Gin arrives and announces that 352 students have dropped out, leaving 628. He explains the harsh reality of a chef's life and the importance of supporting each other. The final program is revealed to be a banquet prepared by the alumni for the surviving students. Everyone enjoys the banquet, and Sōma reflects on his initial reluctance to attend Totsuki, now finding the school life interesting. Behind the scenes, Hirohime and Gin discuss the students' talent and look forward to the autumn elections. At the airport, Jōichirō Yukihira returns to Japan. The Polar Star dormitory residents are relieved the camp is over, but recall the challenges they faced. Sōma and Megumi approach Kojiro Shinomiya, who confirms he's returning to France to make his restaurant, Shino's, the #1 in Paris, with a 3-star Michelin rating. The alumni gather around Sōma and Megumi, revealing that the camp also serves as a recruiting ground for future staff. Sōma declines their offers, determining to prove himself to his father and take over restaurant Yukihira. As the students board the buses, Sōma realizes he left his bandana behind and misses the bus. He encounters Erina, who also missed the bus, and they share a car ride back to Totsuki Academy. Erina admits Sōma did well at the camp but doubts he'll be selected for the autumn elections, a gourmet festival where students compete to showcase their skills. Sōma learns about the selection committee and grows excited about the opportunity. Erina reveals she retrieved a book containing a photo of herself and Jōichirō from their childhood. Meanwhile, Gin discovers that Sōma is Jōichiro's son and finds a photo of them together as students. Back at the Polar Star dormitory, Fumio introduces the residents to Jōichirō, who is cooking a celebratory meal. The residents are shocked to learn that Jōichirō is Sōma's father and a former member of the Elite 10 Council. Jōichirō prepares various dishes, impressing the residents with his culinary skills. Fumio shows the residents a photo of Jōichirō and Gin from their second year, revealing they were the core of the Elite 10 Council during the Polar Star dormitory's golden age. Jōichirō confirms he didn't actually graduate, hinting at past events. Sōma and Jōichirō clean up the kitchen, and Jōichirō shares stories about his time at the dormitory. The next morning, Jōichirō wakes Sōma up and challenges him to a cooking contest to see how much he's grown. Sōma brings his equipment to the kitchen, eager to prove himself to his father. At the Nakari mansion, Erina wakes up and looks at a photo of Jōichirō. Back at the Polar Star dormitory, Jōichirō challenges Sōma to a cooking contest to see how much he's grown. Sōma gladly accepts, and they decide to make a dish that will energize the judges, Fumio, Satoshi, and a sleepy Megumi, for the day. They have 1 hour to cook, using anything in the kitchen. Megumi wakes up to find Sōma and Jōichirō facing off in the kitchen. She learns that this is a regular occurrence for them, with Sōma having lost 489 times to his father. Sōma presents his dish, an apple risotto, which impresses the judges with its crispiness and flavor. Jōichirō presents his dish, a special, rich ramen, which surprises everyone with its vegetarian broth made from shiitake mushrooms. The judges declare Jōichirō the winner, noting that his dish was full of vitality while Sōma's felt lacking. Satoshi explains that Sōma's dish was delicious but had a lackluster quality compared to Jōichiro's perfect dish. Sōma realizes that he designed his dish to minimize the possibility of not meeting the judges' individual needs, while his father maximized their satisfaction. Jōichirō acknowledges Sōma's growth, but reminds him of his 490th loss. Megumi is inspired by Sōma's determination and vows to keep trying alongside him. They both aim to reach the Elite 10. Outside, Fumio tells Jōichirō to give Sōma more advice before leaving, but Jōichirō believes Sōma will figure things out on his own. Erina senses Jōichiro's presence but stops the car too late to see him. Back at the dormitory, Fumio informs the residents that Jōichirō has left. Sōma receives a message from his father to visit restaurant Yukihira during the holiday. At the Sumida-dori shopping district, Mayumi looks at restaurant Yukihira, while elsewhere, Yuya wonders what will happen to the shopping district due to the lack of customers. At the shopping district, Mayumi and Aki walk with classmates, debating where to eat. Mayumi pauses at restaurant Yukihira, recalling when Sōma made her eat peanut butter squid. Aki notes Mayumi's daily habit and suggests she should have asked Sōma out. Mayumi tears up and Aki apologizes, suggesting she should contact Sōma. Suddenly, Sōma opens the diner, surprising everyone. He decides to serve them. While cooking, Sōma mentions his dad is abroad. Remembering Sōma and Jōichiro's cook-off, Mayumi feels distant from the mature Sōma. After eating, Sōma notices the district's emptiness and finds Yuya depressed. Yuya explains that a new shopping complex drew customers away with its popular karaage. Sōma decides to create a competing karaage. Though Yuya is skeptical, Sōma is determined. Aki volunteers Mayumi as taste tester. Mayumi is uncertain, but Aki encourages her to help Sōma. Sōma invites Mayumi to taste Mozuya's karaage the next day. Walking home, Aki teases Mayumi about getting closer to Sōma. That night, Sōma realizes Ikumi can help with the karaage and calls her. Next morning, Ikumi arrives at Sumida-dori. Mayumi is struck by her beauty. Sōma introduces them and they head to Mozuya. A woman welcomes customers into the bustling shop. At restaurant Yukihira, Sōma asks Ikumi, Mayumi, and Yuya about enjoying karaage. Ikumi says eating them fresh is best. But Sōma notes Mozuya's takeout focus. He explains that shopping districts let customers walk and eat, unlike Mozuya's target market. Ikumi agrees and Sōma proposes walk and eat karaage. Yuya, inspired, leaves to prepare. At the station, Mozuya sells karaage. Kinu dismisses their consultant, believing in Mozuya's marinade. Back at the diner, Sōma experiments with karaage in milk containers, but Mayumi finds them unsatisfying. Ikumi suggests thigh meat. Sōma heads to his room for his recipe notebook. Alone, Mayumi asks Ikumi about Sōma's time at Totsuki. Ikumi mentions most students are hopeless, but Sōma is decent. Sōma returns, dropping notebooks on Ikumi. Ikumi makes juicier karaage using thigh meat, earning Sōma's praise. They decide on marinade ingredients, and Mayumi offers to buy missing items. Yuya arrives with a karaage rice ball idea, inspiring Sōma. That night, Yuya, Ikumi, and Mayumi prepare for the next day. Sōma stays to cook. At the station, Kinu notices karage rolls and investigates. She finds sales dropped 20% and goes to the shopping district. There she sees Sōma and the others selling sumida karage rolls. Sōma explains their quick setup. Kinu tries the roll and admits defeat, reminiscing about her past. In Yuya's shop, Sōma compliments Ikumi and asks Mayumi to help part-time. Mayumi accepts. The TV shows the sumida karage roll's success. Elsewhere, Etsuya Eizan, the 9th seat of the Elite 10, calls Kinu about decreased sales. After vacation, Sōma meets Eizan, who reveals he controls 50 food industries. Eizan wants Sōma to work for him, but Sōma declines. Eizan warns Sōma about the autumn elections and vows to crush him, introducing himself as Alchemista. At the Elite 10 meeting, Erina objects to Sōma's autumn elections participation, doubting his skills. Satoshi admits Erina's food judgments are never wrong, but finds her views on Sōma irrational. Etsuya supports Sōma's participation, frustrating Erina. Despite her objections, Satoshi finalizes Sōma's participation. At Totsuki Academy, students rush to see the elections board. Sōma, Megumi, Shun, Yuki, Ryoko, Takumi, Alice, and others make the cut. Takumi challenges Sōma to a shokugeki, but Sōma is focused on Ikumi. Alice and her companion discuss their strategies. Urara announces the autumn elections details, splitting the contestants into Group A and Group B for preliminaries. Etsuya's message warns against unworthy dishes. Erina watches from afar, depressed that Sōma was elected. Sōma and Alice discuss Erina not participating. Megumi meets Miyoko Hojo, who defends her from bullies. Alice explains the Elite 10's involvement in the tournament. Now Saratsuka stalks Erina, admiring her beauty. Zenji reads the Group A list in the library. That night, Sōma sharpens his knife, remembering Jōichirō and Etsuya. The next morning, Satoshi, Sōma, Megumi, and Yuki work in the fields. They receive a letter revealing the preliminaries curry theme. Sōma and Megumi visit Jun Shiomi's seminar for curry advice. Jun, traumatized by Jōichiro's experiments, refuses to help Sōma but agrees to assist Megumi. Akira Hayama, Jun's assistant, introduces them to various curries and spices. Akira demonstrates his curry-making skills, impressing Sōma and Megumi. Jun explains the importance of blending spices carefully. Akira reveals he's also in Group A and believes fragrance dominates cooking. Sōma thanks Akira and vows to repay him with a better curry. As Sōma leaves, Jun accidentally hits him with the door. Akira warns Sōma that his special nose gives him an advantage. Sōma notices Megumi's low spirits after seeing Akira's curries. He shares a story about his father pushing him to create new menus, encouraging Megumi. With 6 weeks left, the Polar Star residents prepare for the elections. Megumi, Ryoko, and Yuki study spices, overwhelming Megumi. In Dawn RS, Kanichi supports Ikumi. Takumi returns to Italy, leaving Isami behind. Miyoko cooks, recalling her past and vowing to win the elections. 3 weeks later, most residents return home. Megumi trains at her family's ryokan. Takumi, Alice, Ryo, Ikumi, Hisako, and Sōma prepare for the elections. On the event day, Sōma reunites with Megumi and others. Senzaemon welcomes the students, explaining the hall's history and the main tournament. Urara explains the preliminaries. 60 candidates have 3 hours to make a curry dish, with only 8 advancing to the main tournament. Sōma and Takumi promise to meet again in the main tournament. In Hall A, the preliminaries begin. Etsuya introduces Judge Natsume Sendawara. Contestants start cooking with Erina watching. In Hall B, Orie Sendawara flirts with Satoshi. Takumi and Isami collaborate while Yuki impresses with her duck fat curry. Hisako, Alice, Nao, and Miyoko showcase unique techniques. Back in Hall A, Ikumi uses hua jiao. Ryo swiftly cuts lobster, and Zenji makes udon. Akira prepares fish head curry, impressing Jun and Roland. Shun's smoke catches the judge's attention. Natsume asks Etsuya about his pick, and he mentions Sōma, who is surprisingly asleep. Akira and Ikumi see Sōma sleeping, but he awakens to the fragrance of his curry. Akira identifies the scent as rice risotto with apple, banana, and carrot paste, but senses another secret. In Hall B, Megumi focuses on her prep work, ignoring critics. She bumps into Miyoko, who chastises her clumsiness. Megumi unveils a monkfish, shocking the audience. Remembering Sōma's encouragement, she expertly butchers the fish, impressing everyone. Daigo, Shoji, and Fumio cheer for her. Urara announces the judging criteria. 5 judges will score each dish out of 20 points, with only 4 students advancing. Takumi presents first, scoring 33 points. Other dishes score poorly, shocking the audience. Nao's jet black curry laksa emits a horrible stench, but Orie bravely tries it and finds it delicious. Nao scores 84 points. Hisako presents next, unperturbed by Nao's score. Her mutton curry soup initially underwhelms the judges, but they quickly appreciate its medicinal properties. Hisako scores 92 points, taking first place. Now admires Hisako's skills. The Aldini brothers await their turn, with Isami eager to compete against Takumi. In Block B, Miyako Hojo's pineapple fried curried rice scores 87 points, pushing Nao Sarutsuka to third place. Her dish, reminiscent of Chinese sweet and sour pork, impresses the judges. Shingo Ando dubs her the Iron Fire Dragon Girl, likening her dish to a powerful blow against all men. Megumi Tadakoro is amazed as Miyako walks past her. Meanwhile, Shoji Sato and Daigo Aoki enter the Block A stadium, surprised by the silence caused by Natsume Sendawara, giving 0 points to a candidate. Back in Block B, Yuki Yoshino's duck cutlet curry scores 86 points, securing third place. Osaji Kita praises her dish, noting the duck's flavor tempered by turmeric and orange. Ando observes Yuki's connections with hunters, and Osaji invites her to his gourmet club. Fumio dubs Yuki the Little Red Riding Hood of the Forest of Wild Beasts. The Aldini twins present next. Isami Aldini's curry bread calzone scores 87 points, tying with Miyoko. His dish, a fusion of Japanese curry bread and Italian cuisine, impresses the judges. Satoshi Ishiki sees Isami as an adventurer in new culinary horizons. Takumi Aldini's Napolitan curry fettuccine initially underwhelms the judges, but impresses them with its harmonious fusion of Japanese and Italian cuisine. He scores 90 points, securing second place. Isami reflects on their past, remembering Takumi's encouragement and their shared goal of making Trattoria Aldini the best in Italy. Alice Nakiri serves her thermal sense curry, stunning the judges into silence. Her dish, leveraging molecular gastronomy, receives a near-perfect score of 95 points. Alice dubs Hisako Secretary-chan, angering her. With Isami and Miyoko tied in fourth place, the judge is prepared to vote. Megumi Tadakoro presents her monkfish dobojiru curry, a traditional hot pot using goosefish. Despite initial skepticism, she receives enthusiastic support from fishermen. Her dish, conveying the emotion of her hometown, scores 88 points, qualifying her for the main tournament. The fisherman's cheer causes Miyoko to reevaluate her combative stance, deciding to emulate Megumi's gentle camaraderie. Back in Block A, the atmosphere remains tense as Natsume Sendawara continues to give 0 points. Shun Ibusaki and Ryoko Sakaki comment on her harsh judging. Despite the stadium's silence, Ryo looks indifferent as he waits his turn. Judging begins for Ryo's curry dish. Natsume Sendawara detects a strange fragrance and takes a second bite, impressed by the sauce Americaine base made from crab shells and cognac. Ryo confirms using Napoleon cognac, impressing the judges and Erina. Before revealing his score, Ryo enters his berserk mode, demanding the judges drip cognac into the lobster's head and slurp it. Overwhelmed by the flavor, they award him 93 points, catapulting him to first place. Ikumi presents next, her meat sense ensuring maximum tenderness in her dish. She adds rock salt and Tengjiao oil to the rice, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of craving. The judges dub her the Meat General, and she scores 86 points, tying for second place. Ryoko Sakaki's plain-looking curry uses charcoal fermented natto, deepening the flavor and increasing umami content. The judges dub her Ane-san and award her 86 points, tying with Ikumi. Zenji Marui, despite skepticism, presents a completely white curry dish. The judges are enamored with its creamy yet light flavor, likening it to vichy soie. Zenji's historical food research earns him the sobriquet, the Professor of Taste. He scores 88 points, placing second. Shun's fragrant curry features smoked ingredients enhancing the spice's flavor without overpowering them. Shigenoshin Koda dubs him the Prince of Smoke. Shun scores 88 points, tying with Zenji. With 2 ties in fourth place, Etsuya Eizan confirms a revote is needed. However, the favored candidate, Akira, has yet to present. Akira and Sōma exchange friendly banter, agreeing to compare their skills. Akira presents a compact dish shaped like a muffin, topped with naan. He instructs the judges to crack the naan with their spoons. As Sōma does so, a fragrance bomb explodes in his face. In the Sumeridori shopping district, a young Sōma Yukihira vows to beat his father, Jōichirō, in a cook-off. In the present, Jōichirō remembers their 490 matches. At Totsuki Culinary Academy's Block B, Megumi Tadakoro scores 88 points, securing fourth place ahead of Isami Aldini, with Takumi Aldini in third, Hisako Arato in second, and Alice Nakari in first. Back at Block A, Akira Hayama's curry dish explodes with aroma, impressing the judges and reaching the audience. The dish features a fish head curry with naan using holy basil and yogurt to balance flavors. Akira scores 94 points, securing first place. Jun Shiomi is moved to tears, while Ryo and Ryoko are disappointed with their rankings. Ikumi is shocked to be out of the running. Erina, joined by Satoshi and Fumio, watches as Sōma serves his dish. An omelet revealing rice inside, spreading a powerful aroma. The judges are impressed by the dish's complexity and Sōma's use of mango chutney. Satoshi and Fumio note Sōma's growth from his past failures. The judges struggle to rate Sōma's dish against Akira's, ultimately giving Sōma 93 points, 1 point behind Akira. Akira is relieved but notes that some judges favored Sōma's dish. The judges argue over the scoring, with Makoto Minatosuka and Shigenoshin Koda disagreeing. Etsuya and Senzaemon Nakuri look forward to the main tournament. At night, a party is held at the Polar Star dormitory. The Aldini brothers and Ikumi are invited. Miyoko apologizes to Megumi and promises to cheer for her. Yuki congratulates Megumi and the fishermen take a group photo with her. At the party, the students socialize in Zenji's room. Ryoko shares rumors about the mysterious student who qualified. Shin Ibusaki is missing, locked in his room after being knocked out of the tournament. In the Shiomi seminar, Akira finds Jun passed out and vows to win the tournament for her. At the Nakuri household, Alice is upset with Erina for not celebrating with her. Erina congratulates Alice and Ryo, but has paperwork to do. Now Saratsuka watches Hisako from afar, falling from a tree. Erina imagines being surrounded by mini versions of Sōma, denying his dish's tastiness. Sōma and Megumi talk on the balcony. Sōma wants to become stronger to defeat Akira. Megumi thanks Sōma for her progress, but Sōma credits her own abilities. Ikumi watches them, caught by Ryoko and Yuki. The party moves outside with everyone celebrating. Sōma makes a bizarre dish with calamari and yogurt, feeding it to Megumi.